There's a point you reach, not out of exhaustion, but out of clarity, when you stop explaining yourself. Not because you no longer care, but because you've seen the truth. Most people aren't listening. They're waiting to reply, waiting to judge, waiting to twist your words to suit their story. You realize then, with a strange kind of peace, that silence is more powerful than shouting ever was. We've been raised to believe that speaking up is strength, that we must defend ourselves, prove our intentions, argue until someone surrenders. But strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's invisible. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's walking away from chaos and letting karma do the talking. Because karma never forgets. And when you've been wronged, betrayed, insulted, it's not always your fight to fix. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is nothing. The first time you must stay silent is when someone betrays you and then acts like it was your fault. They don't just hurt you, they flip the story. Suddenly, they're the ones suffering. They tell others how you were cold, how you were unfair, how you caused everything. And if you try to defend yourself, you fall into their trap. Because the louder you speak, the more guilty you look. You try to explain, but it sounds like noise. They've already rehearsed their version. They've already picked their audience. So instead of defending, walk away. Say nothing. Let your actions speak in the months ahead. Let time reveal the patterns. Let karma do what karma does best, expose liars through repetition. You don't need revenge. You need patience. Because sooner or later, the truth always leaks through cracks in the mask. And when it does, the same people who doubted you will remember your silence, and respect it. And that's the point. You're not being silent because you're helpless. You're being silent because you're done wasting your energy on someone who already decided to misunderstand you. You're letting the universe take over where your words would only tangle. That's wisdom. That's power. The second time you must stay silent is when someone insults you in front of others. Not constructive criticism. Not honest feedback. But venom, calculated, targeted, sharp. They humiliate you in public, twisting the knife with a smile. They want a scene. They want you to erupt, to yell, to look unstable. And when you do, they'll point the finger. See? I told you they're crazy. This isn't a battle of facts. It's a trap. And if you fall into it, they win. Because they never cared about truth. They cared about control. The only thing more frustrating to a manipulator than resistance is silence. Because when you say nothing, they have nothing to twist. When you stay calm, they look foolish. When you walk away, they look small. You may feel the heat rising in your chest, your heart pounding, your ego begging to strike back. But breathe, look them in the eye, smile if you can, then turn around and leave. Not because you lost, but because you won the one thing they can never take from you, your peace. You don't need to lower yourself to their frequency. You don't need to prove your worth to someone who doesn't see it. You are not here to entertain cowards who attack with words and hide behind laughter. Let them talk. Let them perform. Their need to destroy others is already their punishment. And remember, those watching are not blind. People may laugh with the bully, but they remember how you carried yourself. Dignity has a longer echo than drama. And karma has perfect timing. The louder someone lies, the more painful the moment when truth catches up to them. So let the world talk. Let the fools bark. You, stay silent. And in that silence, something powerful grows. The kind of strength that can't be touched. The kind of calm that breaks cycles. The kind of control that only people who have walked through fire can possess. Because sometimes, silence isn't just the best revenge. It's the loudest truth. There's a special kind of pain that comes when someone takes credit for your work. You spend weeks, maybe months, building something. You pour yourself into it. Your energy, your ideas, your sweat, your time. And then someone swoops in, smiles, and acts like it was all theirs. In the meeting room, in front of the boss, in the final moment, they take the spotlight. They take the reward. And you're left sitting there, trying to keep your face calm while your stomach burns. Everything inside you wants to speak up. To say, that wasn't your idea. To expose the truth. To reclaim what's yours. But you don't. You hold it in. Not because you don't care, but because you do. You care enough about the long game to not ruin it with one impulsive outburst. This is the third moment to stay silent. When your ego is wounded, when someone hijacks your recognition, wait, breathe, let them enjoy the stage. Let them collect applause for a performance they didn't earn. Because what they stole wasn't yours in the first place, it was borrowed. And what is borrowed must be returned with interest. That's how karma works. Reputation is like a shadow, it follows the truth. Eventually, people see patterns. They notice who always brings results and who always takes the credit. They notice whose ideas spark real progress and who just floats from meeting to meeting, echoing others. You don't have to shout. You don't have to call them out. You just have to keep doing your work with quiet excellence. Because eventually, when the moment really matters, no one will believe them. They will look around for someone competent, and they will turn to you. But if you lash out too soon, if you start a war over credit, you turn your strength into noise. You become reactive. And that's what the thief wants. They want you to look unprofessional. They want you to slip. So don't give them that gift. Let them stand alone with what they stole, and let karma collect the debt later. The fourth moment to stay silent is harder. Much harder. It's when someone deeply close to you, someone you trusted, starts talking about you behind your back, quietly at first, then with more boldness. A word here, a criticism there. They share your secrets. They twist your flaws into weapons. And they always do it with this sickening smile of innocence. I'm just concerned, they say to others. I love them, but it cuts deeper than an enemy's attack, because this was someone you let in, someone who knew your vulnerabilities, your fears, your doubts, and they're using them to climb higher, to look better, to push you down without touching you. Everything in you screams, say something, call them out, expose them, confront them publicly, let everyone know who they really are. But this is where true strength lives. In the silence after the betrayal. In the stillness after the knife lands. Because when you stay silent, you stop feeding the fire. You let them dig their own grave with every whispered sentence. And they will. They always do. Because people who gossip once, gossip again. And soon, they'll speak to the wrong person, say too much, reveal their true face. You don't need to rush justice. You don't need to chase revenge. You need to protect your soul from corrosion. Because when you chase revenge on someone beneath you, you lower yourself to their level, and lose the very thing they envy, your dignity. So instead of fighting, disappear from their life. Not with noise, not with drama, but with silence so clean it burns. Remove your presence. Let them notice the absence. Let them tell their story to people who will eventually wonder why you never responded. That silence, that refusal to engage, is your final word. And it is louder than any argument. Over time, people come to you quietly. They begin to see the contrast. They remember how you never badmouthed them, how you stayed calm, how you didn't fight dirty. And that respect you didn't demand, it arrives. Slowly, quietly, authentically. Because karma doesn't ride on rage. It rides on rhythm, on time, on truth. And when you stay silent, you let karma arrive on its own terms, undisturbed, unforced, undeniable. And when it comes, it never misses. There's something unsettling about being falsely accused. It doesn't matter whether the lie is small or massive, it crawls under your skin and shakes the foundation of your identity. Suddenly, you feel watched, judged, cornered by a version of you that never existed. A version someone else invented. One rumor, one twist of words, and the people around you start looking at you differently, whispering, doubting, questioning things they never questioned before. The fifth time you must stay silent is when someone spreads a lie about you, and everyone seems to believe it. That's when your instinct screams, defend yourself, gather your receipts, confront the liar, shout the truth from the rooftops. But here's the truth the Stoics knew, a lie has speed, but the truth has endurance. And if you panic and fight too hard, you look guilty even when you're not. You feed the beast. There is something terrifyingly powerful about remaining calm when everyone expects you to break. About saying nothing while chaos tries to bait you. When you remain centered, when you let your life, not your mouth, be your response, you give people the chance to realize the truth for themselves. And that realization is far more powerful than anything you could argue. The truth needs no defense. It just needs consistency, time, patterns, and karma. Because the same mouths that spread lies often move on quickly, to new drama, new gossip, new victims. But the damage they leave behind, it lingers. Until one day they slip. They lie to the wrong person. Their mask falls. And people start remembering the one person who never fought back, who just kept moving with grace. That's when the reversal begins. People apologize, regret, question their own judgment. And that's the justice you were waiting for, not dramatic, not loud, but lasting. A kind of justice that restores more than your name, it restores your faith. And now the sixth, perhaps the most personal of them all. It's when someone leaves you, not quietly, not respectfully, but with cruelty. They don't just walk away. They tear down what you built together. They try to destroy your memory, repaint the past, strip away your worth. You hear the things they say about you, how they talk to others, how they act as if you were the problem all along. It's like the love never existed, like you were never real. Your first impulse is to speak, to write the long message, to call their friends, to defend what the relationship truly was, to make sure the world knows, I loved, I gave, I was loyal. But don't, because the sixth time you must stay silent is when your heart has been broken by someone who now speaks of you with contempt. Don't chase your dignity. Don't argue about your worth. Don't defend yourself to those who willingly believe the worst without asking for your side. When someone leaves you and dishonors your memory in the process, they've already told you who they are. And if you stay quiet, completely quiet, you give them nothing to work with. You starve their ego of the reaction it needs. You rise above the story they're trying to tell. And over time, as their life unfolds without you, the contrast begins to speak for itself. They may get attention, even sympathy, for a while. But that attention fades. And when it does, they are left alone with the truth they tried to bury, yours. The kindness you gave, the loyalty you showed, the silence you kept. And in the quiet of their life, long after the noise is gone, karma knocks. Gently. And it never leaves. The people who loved loud but left violently often find themselves haunted not by your voice, but by its absence. Because nothing echoes louder in the heart than a love that left peacefully and never begged to return. And if you're strong enough to stay silent through that, you've already won. Sometimes, the attacks come dressed in concern. You're sitting at a table, surrounded by people you thought were neutral, maybe even supportive. But then someone leans forward, smiles, and says something like, I just worry about the choices you're making. Their words drip with passive aggression, with judgment wrapped in politeness. And then come the others, joining in, piling on, all under the mask of care. They don't want a conversation. They want to control. They want you to shrink. They want to be right about your life without having lived a single day of it. This is the seventh time you must stay silent. When people criticize your path, not because it's wrong, but because it's not theirs. They don't know your pain. They didn't feel your sleepless nights. They never stood where you stood, with the weight of everything on your shoulders, making decisions no one else had the strength to make. But they'll talk. Oh, they'll talk. And that's the test. Because if you start explaining, you're giving away pieces of your soul to people who never earned your story. You're handing them the blueprint of your pain, just so they can mock the architecture. Don't do it. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think what they want. You are not obligated to make yourself small just so someone else can feel comfortable. You don't have to defend your evolution to those still stuck in their own cages. Let them stay in their safe little boxes while you climb mountains they'll never see. And when the results come, when your growth speaks for itself, when the vision becomes reality, they'll either go silent, or pretend they always supported you. Either way, you won't need to say, I told you so. You'll already be too far ahead to hear them. Now here comes the eighth moment to stay silent, and it's one of the most tempting to break. It's when someone imitates you. Not innocently, not out of admiration, but deliberately, aggressively. They copy your ideas, your words, your moves. They start talking like you, dressing like you, creating like you. And then, they act as if they invented it. Worse, they use it to compete with you. It's infuriating, because you know what they're doing. You see it. Everyone close to you sees it. And yet, they deny it. They act innocent, or even smug. They smile while building a cheap version of your original work, hoping to outshine you with a reflection of your own light. And you want to expose them. You want to scream, this is mine. I built this. But here's what you need to understand. This is where karma works best. Because the eighth time to stay silent is when someone tries to steal your uniqueness. Because what's truly yours, what comes from your soul, can never be stolen. It can be copied, but never matched. Because it doesn't live in the product, it lives in the source. And you are the source. Let them copy, let them paste, let them perform. You, keep evolving, keep creating, keep moving in directions they can't predict. Because while they're busy imitating who you were, you're already becoming someone new. And that's the secret. They're always late. They're always reacting. You're the origin. They're the echo. Karma doesn't just punish through failure. Sometimes, it punishes through emptiness. Through the slow decay of a life built on imitation. Eventually, they run out of things to steal. Eventually, their audience sees the difference between light and reflection. And in that moment, your silence will ring louder than any accusation. Because while they were playing at being you were busy becoming someone even you hadn't met yet. So stay silent. Let your work speak. Let time speak. Let karma speak. Because the truth always has a voice. And it never needs to shout. Sometimes you're dragged into battles that were never yours to begin with. People argue in front of you, about you, around you, dragging your name into conflicts, distorting what you said, what you meant, who you are. You hear your words twisted in someone else's mouth. Suddenly, you're part of a story that never happened. This is the 9th time you must stay silent, when someone tries to use your name as a weapon in their war. They're not asking for truth, they're looking for leverage. Your image, your voice, your presence becomes a pawn in someone else's manipulation. Maybe it's an ex using your name to win sympathy. Maybe it's a friend who tells others how you would agree with them. Maybe it's someone pretending to represent you in conversations you were never invited to. And every instinct in you wants to burst in, to correct, to fix, to scream. That's not true. But you must understand, truth spoken in the wrong room dies before it's even heard. If someone is using your name without integrity, they were never speaking to understand. They're speaking to control. Silence, in this case, is not retreat. It's refusal. You are refusing to play a part in their theater. You are refusing to be baited into proving yourself in front of those who wouldn't listen anyway. The people who believe lies without checking in with you. They were never with you. Let them go. Let the dust settle. Let time show who stands where when the noise fades. Because here's the law karma honors. Those who twist truth will one day choke on it. And your silence in the face of distortion is not weakness, it's a blade made of grace. It cuts deeper than anger ever could. And now the 10th. This one is subtle. It's not about attacks. It's not about betrayal or slander. It's about moments when you are right. When someone you love, truly love, makes a mistake, says something hurtful, acts out of pain, projects their insecurities onto you. You see it clearly. You understand exactly what they're doing. And you also know, you could win the argument. But you don't. Because the 10th time you must stay silent, is when speaking the truth would only break what's already fragile. This is not cowardice. It's compassion. You understand something deeper. Being right isn't always the most important thing. Sometimes, what matters more is being kind. Sometimes, people don't need a lecture. They don't need a mirror. They need space. Time. A moment to breathe. Maybe they're going through something they haven't shared. Maybe they're carrying more than they can hold. Maybe they snapped, not because of you, but because you were the safest place to land. And if you fire back, if you take that moment to make your point, to prove your accuracy, you may win the battle, but lose the bond. So you breathe, you let it pass. Not forever, but for now. You choose silence, not to avoid conflict, but to preserve connection. You don't bury the truth, you hold it gently, waiting for the right moment to speak it with love instead of pride. This is a higher level of strength, the kind that doesn't need applause, the kind that doesn't perform, the kind that guards peace over ego. And karma watches these moments too, not to punish, but to reward. Because silence chosen from love, not fear, is sacred. It becomes a seed, one that blossoms later, when time has softened the ground and the truth can finally be heard without defense. So when the moment comes, when your words could destroy or heal, ask yourself, do I need to speak now? Or will silence serve us both? Because sometimes silence is not the absence of justice. It is the presence of wisdom. It is the trust in something greater than impulse. And in that stillness, karma begins to work, not as punishment, but as balance. 10 moments. 10 storms you didn't fight with words. And yet, you survived them. You grew through them. You watched as truth unfolded without your hands pushing it. That's the real lesson. You don't always need to win with noise. Sometimes, you win by walking away. Sometimes, you win by choosing dignity. And sometimes, you win by trusting that karma never forgets the things you endured in silence. And when it finally comes around, it doesn't knock. It walks straight through the door you never had to close. Because what's meant for you will find you, quietly, undeniably, unstoppably.